I've been reborn, back to the exact moment Su Wanjai's father slammed a 10 million check down in front of me. In my past life, I'd torn that check to shreds and shouted, "True love is priceless." What I got in return was the contempt curling at the corner of her mouth, and her eyes growing colder by the day. For the 10 years that followed, I lived like dust beneath her feet, chasing after her shadow, until finally, at a business banquet, I died protecting her, stabbed in a dark alley by a rival. In my last moments, all I could see was her face, utterly unmoved, as if I were nothing more than an irrelevant stranger to her. This time, I refused to be that dog who licked his way down to nothing. So calmly, I reached out and took the check. I looked up at Su Zhendong and let a bright, even grateful smile spread across my face. "Thank you, uncle." It wasn't loud, but it landed in that luxurious private room like a thunderclap. Whatever speech Su Zhendong had prepared caught in his throat, and the authority on his face dissolved into shock. He must have imagined 100 ways I might refuse, but never that I'd smile and thank him. Beside him, Long Yashin's mocking grin froze solid, like a duck suddenly grabbed by the throat. And Su Wanjai, that eternally aloof ice goddess who never let her emotions show, had, for the first time, a crack in that frozen expression. Her pupils contracted slightly, her red lips parted, but no sound came out. I carefully folded the check and tucked it into the pocket of my faded, worn-out jeans. Then I stood and gave Su Zhendong a slight bow. "Don't worry, uncle. From today on, I won't bother Miss Su Wanjai again." Then I turned to Su Wanjai. "Sorry for the disturbance these past 3 years. Wishing you a bright future and a smooth road ahead." Her body trembled, almost imperceptibly. She finally really looked at me, and for the first time those beautiful eyes weren't cold but thick with shock. Before she could speak, I'd already turned to leave. "Chen Ping'an, and here I thought you had some backbone. Turns out you're just spineless. The second money's on the table, 10 years of feelings, sold for 10 million. Pathetic." My steps froze. In my past life, that exact line had sent me over the edge. I'd lunged at him, we'd brawled, and I'd ended up beaten half to death by his bodyguards, a total embarrassment. But this time I simply turned back calmly. No anger in my eyes, just faint pity. "Young Master Zhao, you're joking. First, it's not 10 years, it's 3. Second, it's not feelings, it was my one-sided obsession. Third, this isn't a sale, it's fair compensation from Chairman Su for 3 years of hard work on my part. Being a proper, dutiful lapdog takes time and effort too, after all. 10 million is neither too much nor too little, just right." I pulled open the heavy wooden door of the private room and walked out without looking back, leaving dead silence behind me. Outside the hotel, the height of summer sun stung my eyes. I took out the check, that string of numbers so real it nearly brought tears to my eyes. To hell with love, to hell with dignity, I, Chen Ping'an, got a second life, and this time around, I love no one but money. I didn't rush to cash the check right away. A cunning old fox like Su Zhendong might have played some trick, a cooling-off clause, or maybe it was just a worthless piece of paper, waiting to watch me humiliate myself. Nicely played, Su Zhendong. I called a car back to my rented room in the urban village. Less than 10 square meters, dark and damp, the air thick with the smell of instant noodles and mildew. This was the love nest I'd gritted my teeth and lived in for 3 years in my past life, just to stay close to Su Wanjai's school. I opened my 5-year-old laptop. The screen took forever to flicker on. I didn't rush to do anything, just leaned back in my chair and thought quietly. What was the biggest advantage of a second life? Information. I knew exactly where the economy would head over the next 10 years, which stocks would skyrocket, which industries would rise. I opened a trading app and typed in a familiar name, Tengfei Technology. I remembered clearly. Tomorrow, this unremarkable little company would announce a chip technology patent, and its stock would rocket from 5 yuan all the way to 10. I picked up my phone and called Su Wanjai. "Whatever you left at my place, I've packed it all up and put it by the door, send someone whenever. Also, I've changed my number. No need to contact me again." Before she could respond, I hung up, pulled out the SIM card, snapped it in half, and tossed it in the trash. The world finally went quiet. Early the next morning, I went straight to the bank. To my surprise, cashing the check went smoothly. It wasn't until a text confirmed a long string of zeros now sitting in my account that I truly believed my life was actually starting over. Without a second's hesitation, I transferred all 9.9 million into a brokerage account and went all in on Tengfei Technology. Walking out of the brokerage, I suddenly felt weightless. Now all that was left was to wait. I didn't go back to that moldy rented room. Instead, I checked into an executive suite at the best hotel downtown. Soaking in the bathtub, sipping chilled champagne, gazing out at the clouds drifting past the city's skyline, I felt almost dazed. In my past life, I could only stand outside a hotel like this, staring up at the lit windows on the top floor, imagining what kind of extravagant party Su Wanjai might be attending inside. Now I was the one inside. Ding. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. It was Su Wanjai. Chen Ping'an, where are you? Did you throw away everything I gave you? Seems she'd gone to some trouble to track down my new number. What she'd given me had only ever been odds and ends she didn't want. A pen, a notebook, handed over each time like scraps tossed to a beggar. And yet back then I'd treasured them like precious gifts. I didn't reply. I just blocked the number. Then I called room service. Hello, please send up 2 professional massage therapists. This time around, I was going to treat myself right. Over the following week, I lived the do-nothing life I'd once only dreamed of, sleeping in every morning, enjoying an elegant breakfast at the hotel's top-floor restaurant, spending afternoons at the gym or the pool, and experiencing the city's finest nightlife after dark. I traded my cheap jeans for a perfectly tailored suit. Turns out the old saying about clothes making the man is dead on. Walking into any upscale establishment in a well-cut suit with a Patek Philippe on my wrist, I was met with nothing but humble smiles and attentive service. No more sizing-up glances, no more scorn. Money really is a man's sturdiest backbone. As for Tengfei Technologies stock, I didn't even bother checking. I already knew it would climb. That night, I invited 2 strikingly attractive models out for drinks at Cloud Peak Palace, the city's top private club. The music thundered, silhouettes swayed, and the air was thick with the scent of money and hormones. In my past life, I hadn't even qualified to set foot in this place. Now I sat in the best booth, drawing every kind of gaze in the room. Young master and another drink? The model beside me leaned in coyly. I laughed and pinched her cheek, but before I could answer, a familiar figure caught the corner of my eye. Su Wanjai, what was she doing here? Long Yashin was beside her, along with a few unfamiliar rich kids. Long Yashin was bragging away, spit flying, while Su Wanjai looked cold and detached, completely out of place amid the noise around her. Just then she spotted me too. In that instant our eyes met, a flicker of surprise crossed her face, then confusion, then disgust. Yes, disgust. In her eyes, someone like me, blowing through her father's 10 million on a night like this, was basically garbage. Long Yashin followed her gaze, and an exaggerated sneer spread across his face. He shoved through the crowd and strode toward me. If it isn't the famous Chen Ping'an, our great romantic hero. Long Yashin's voice was loud, deliberately drawing every eye in the room our way. So this is what you're doing with the 10 million Uncle Su gave you, living it up. Feeling like you've reached the peak of life. His entourage snickered along behind him. Bro, this is the lapdog you told us about? Doesn't look like much. Sold himself out for 10 million, what a disgrace to men everywhere. The 2 models beside me looked embarrassed and made to get up. I gently pressed a hand on their arms, signaling them to stay put. I lifted my glass, swirled the whiskey inside, and didn't even look at Long Yashin. Young Master Zhao, long time no see. How's the family business? I hear a few of Zhao Group's overseas projects have run into some trouble. What the hell are you talking about? I took a sip and smiled. That port project in Southeast Asia stalled out because of sudden policy changes, wasn't it? And the chip distribution rights in Europe got snatched up by short sellers in the downturn, didn't they? Between those 2 deals, the Long families lost at least $500 million, wouldn't you say? All of it I'd picked up from financial news in my past life. At that, cold sweat broke out across Long Yashin's forehead. That's confidential company information. Nobody outside the board even knows that. How the hell would a nobody like you know that? Did you have me investigated? I set down my glass and finally met his eyes directly. Young Master Long, you think far too highly of yourself. You're not even worth the effort. I stood up half a head taller than him and looked down at him with open contempt. Worry about your own mess. Stop running around biting everyone like some rabid dog. The laughter around us slowly died down as everyone sensed the shift in the air. Long Yashin, pinned under the weight of my presence, opened his mouth but couldn't force out a single word. His face flushing red, then white in turns, thoroughly humiliated. I didn't bother with him any further. I pulled a stack of cash from my wallet and set it on the table. Ladies, thanks for tonight. Take a cab home on me. I straightened my collar and walked straight past Long Yashin. As I passed Su Wanjai, I paused. She stared at me, the shock in her eyes even deeper than back in that private room. She probably couldn't wrap her head around it. How the same broke, groveling boy who'd been beneath her notice just days ago could suddenly seem so unfamiliar, so sharp-edged. I let a knowing smile curl at the corner of my mouth. Miss Su, you really should have had better judgment about people. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving behind a clean, decisive exit and a room full of dropped jaws. You were never out of my reach. I've simply stopped bothering to look up. I left the club, but instead of heading back to the hotel, I drove straight to the airport. This city held too many painful memories from my past life, and now that I had my first pot of gold, it was time for a fresh start somewhere new. The plane took off at dawn, bound for the most city that international metropolis paved with gold and opportunity. On the plane, I turned off my phone, sank into the first-class seat, and fell into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes again, we'd already landed at Pudong International Airport. Walking out of the terminal, breathing in the faintly salty air of the city, I felt like a warrior reborn. I didn't rush to buy property. Instead, I signed a long-term lease at Thompson Riviera, the top luxury serviced apartment building along the Huangpu River. Standing before the 360-degree floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the glittering Bund skyline, I knew this was my stage now. The next morning, the moment the market opened, I got a call from my broker, his voice trembling with excitement. "Mr. Chen, it's up. Tengfei Technology hit the limit up." I gave a flat in response. "Keep holding. Don't sell until it hits 150. I hung up and started planning my next move. Money made from trading alone is fast money, no real foundation. I needed to build my own business empire. Thanks to my memories from my reborn life, I knew that internet healthcare, new energy vehicles, and artificial intelligence would be the three biggest trends of the coming years. I spent a week putting together a detailed business plan. I was going to found an investment firm focused entirely on gathering up these high-potential startups. A month later, just as I'd predicted, Tengfei Technology's stock had rocketed all the way up to 150. My account balance had gone from an initial 9.9 million to a number that even made me raise an eyebrow, 300 million. Without hesitation, I cashed out entirely, locking in the gains. With that seed capital, my dynasty capital was officially founded in Mo City. The office was set up on the top floor of the World Financial Center in Lujiazui, facing the Oriental Pearl Tower across the river. I began recruiting, poaching the sharpest analysts and traders from the top investment banks with salaries well above industry standard. At first, those elites had plenty to say behind my back about a 20-something upstart being their boss. But after I accurately predicted 3 separate U.S. stock market circuit breaker events and led them to short the market, raking in $50 million in a single day, everyone shut up. The way they looked at me shifted from doubt to reverence and eventually to outright fervent worship. In their eyes, I wasn't a boss anymore, I was a god. My life grew busier by the day, endless meetings, endless reports, endless people to meet. Gradually, I forgot about the city I'd left, forgot about Su Wanjai, forgot about that miserable past. Then one day, my secretary handed me an invitation. "There's an international business summit at the Shenzhen Convention Center next week. This invitation just came in from the organizers." I took it and skimmed it idly, but when my eyes landed on the list of co-organizers, my fingers paused. "The Su Group really won't let go, will they? Turn it down for me." My secretary looked hesitant. "This summit is high profile, nearly half of the Global 500 will be there, and Mr. Lee, the main organizer, specifically requested your attendance." Mr. Lee, the son of Hong Kong's richest man and the summit's host. I frowned. In my past life, I'd only ever seen this man in the news, and now he was asking for me by name. Seems word of dynasty capital's rise in Mo City had already spread. "Then I'll go. I'd like to see the look on the Su family's face when we meet again." To be continued. Subscribe now so you don't miss part 2.